hope you're having a great Friday and getting ready for another awesome weekend. So let's dig into the gallbladder. So let's talk about why that little organ is so important. So the bile that the basically liver is producing, the gallbladder is concentrating, is important for the digestion of fat and basically fat and all your fat soluble vitamins. So it's produced by the liver, and it's secreted into the gallbladder, and then making it way all the way through the bile ducts of the small intestine. So most of the bile fluid is actually removed out of it. It's about 2 to 5 cups a day, leaving a few tablespoons of this concentrated bile. And then the gallbladder stores that up until the bile is needed to dump into the small intestine. And it dumps after you've had a meal. It's gotten all the gastric and small intestinal triggers to dump that bile. And so that bile helps you absorb your fats. And if you want to know the terms, it's basically that cholecystokinin that gets released when that food bolus moves into the small intestine that triggers that dumping. And basically, so some of fat soluble vitamins by this bile is really important. So it's vitamin A, D, E, and K. But the other, I would almost say, bigger importance of the bile is that it's the detergent of the gut. Literally, it's cleaning out the gut. So this bile becomes very crucial when we talk about mold patients and treating the mold toxicity. Bile is also really crucial for SIBO, for resetting that motility in the gut. So bile is one of the big keys for overall gut health, from motility to cleaning the gut, to keeping it healthy, to absorbing all your fat soluble vitamins. So let's take it a step further and talk about gallstones. So gallstones are one of the most common and most costly digestive diseases in the US. Women are about twice as likely to develop them over men. And most people with gallstones don't even know you have them. It's about more than 20 million Americans have gallstones, and approximately 1 million new cases are diagnosed each year. And well over 500,000 people undergo the cholecystectomy each year, which is the removal of the gallbladder. So you can see the gallbladder issues are quite a big thing, and most people have no idea that it's going on. So how do we form these gallbladder stones? What happens? So it's basically it starts with bile, which is mostly composed of water, bile salts, lecithin, and cholesterol. And then the stones are going to form when you start to get these super saturations. So even though cholesterol only makes up about 5% of the bile, about 75% of gallstones in the US are actually cholesterol-based stones. So how does a cholesterol-based stone form? So cholesterol is not very soluble. So in order it to remain suspended in fluid, it's transported within clusters of bile salts. So if there is an imbalance between these bile salts and cholesterol, so for example, more cholesterol in the bile salts, then you're going to get a buildup and you kind of get like a biliary sludge happening. Tend to see that happen first before the salt, sometimes the stones form. And this thickened sludge fluid is kind of like this mucus gel containing the cholesterol and the calcium bilirubinate. And so as that imbalance worsens, and you get more of that cholesterol dumping in, you get cholesterol crystals to form, and you get this super saturated cholesterol bile mixture, and that will eventually form into the gallstones. Now, the sludge won't be seen on ultrasounds or x-rays. So that's where you get the symptomatic patient for the gallstones, but not all the imaging comes out clear. So that's when we know we have that sludge pathology going on. Now, this formation of the sludge and gallstones is incredibly slow and oftentimes painless, which is why most people don't know that they're having gallbladder issues until all of a sudden they're riddled with these gallbladder stones, or they have this big gallstone formation, or they have this really big sludge. And so what helps create that supersaturation of cholesterol. So it could be that the liver is secreting too much cholesterol into the bile. It could be that the gallbladder is not emptying normally. So the bile kind of becomes stagnant, basically, allowing it to become more supersaturated with cholesterol. Or it could be that the cells lining the inside of the gallbladder might not be able to absorb cholesterol and fat from bile as efficiently as they used to. So in recap, cholesterol stones, most common in the US. Let's go on to the pigment stones. So pigment stones are going to be more composed of calcium bilirubinate or calcified bilirubin, basically. These are going to be black or brown. So the black stones are the more common type of the pigmented stones, and they represent about 20% of that population. And they're more common in the Asian populations. So these stones contain more cholesterol and calcium, and they're likely to occur in kind of in the ducts outside of the gallbladder. Infection plays a big role in the development of these, where you have bacteria, parasite, or other microorganism that kind of triggers this oxidation process, and that can lead to the pigmentation changes in stone formation. So let's talk about risk factors. So what type of things will predispose you to forming gallstones? There's quite a lot, so we're going to just hit on the most common ones. Females. So women, stones are more common in women, mainly because of hormones. So estrogen itself increases cholesterol saturation of bile because it raises triglycerides. Progesterone slows down the motility of the gallbladder. So you got two things going on here. So estrogen is saturating that cholesterol in the bile, and then progesterone is slowing the motility or the movement of the bile into the small intestine. So everything is kind of building up. So any state where you're going to have higher progesterone levels or estrogen levels are going to increase your risk for the gallbladder disease. So pregnancy is all about hormones. And I've seen this with multiple repeat pregnancies, that maybe the first pregnancy was fine, but then the second or the third or even the fourth tend to have more and more gallbladder insufficiency type symptoms because they've been through multiple pregnancies, and all these multiple pregnancies with high hormones are building up that cholesterol, creating the stone formation. Birth control and hormone replacement therapy have a 2 to 3-fold increase risk for gallstones for being on those for a significant period of time. Diet. So diet is a huge factor here with gallbladder disease. So dietary risk factors. We have a high refined carbohydrate diet, a high caloric intake, and low fiber. So overall, we have high dietary cholesterol, high refined grains, and high animal products. And the other big concern nutritionally is when we get into these rapid weight loss diets, these fasting, overly long fasting periods, the weight cycling habits. Because what happens is when you go into a fasting period, your liver is going to start dumping cholesterol into the bile. But if you are already at risk for forming bile stones or forming the sludge, then when you go into a weight cycling routine, then you're just going to spike up your risk. And it's commonly, I've seen that a weight cycling prolonged fasting diet be kind of the final trigger to develop the symptoms for the gallbladder. Weight. So being overweight increases your risk because as you're overweight, the liver produces more cholesterol. What does cholesterol do? It saturates that bile. And going back to that rapid weight loss piece, so I have seen this with gallbladder issues with quite a few weight patients who are concerned about weight and trying to do weight loss, and they get into these weight cycling habits. So just so you have a point of reference, the weight loss where we're really concerned at is when you lose weight more rapidly than about 3 pounds a week. The 3 pound a week is increase in that, then you're going to be dumping a lot of cholesterol into that bile and really upping your risk. Family history, genetics, of course, you always have the genetics piece in there. On your labs, if you have low HDL and high triglycerides, that's going to be a risk factor. And kind of the picture to take away, which kind of recaps a lot of this, is fair, 40, female, and fertile. Those as the perfect person who is at risk for forming gallbladder stones. So the complications of stones. Why would you get your gallbladder taken out? What's the concern? What's the big deal? So the big concern with gallbladder stones and not taking care of it is infection. This is the most serious complication of gallstones. Then you can get into like ruptured gallbladder. It can trigger pancreatitis, blocked ducts, gallbladder cancer, gallbladder polyps, scarring of the gallbladder tissue and the surrounding tissue. There's other complications as well, but those are kind of the bigger ones. And so that's why there are so many gallbladders taken out, because these complications are pretty big. But unfortunately, not enough healthcare providers are talking also about all the dietary, the lifestyle changes, the hormonal effect, and how we can balance all of those to, one, prevent gallbladder disease, and to bring in some type of treatment measures. So let's talk about prevention. What do we want to do? How do we protect our gallbladder? So in the diet, you want to make sure that you increase your fibers, you want to cut back on your refined carbohydrates, and you want to decrease your animal fats. So some good foods to think about. Your monosaturated fats, which is going to be like your olive oil, your omega-3 fatty acids, so flax seeds, fish oil, love fish. Of course, your vitamin C and vitamin E foods. Make sure you're upping your fluids, staying really well hydrated, which most of my patients are all dehydrated. And overall, just kind of think more vegetarian diet, and then eliminate any food intolerances that you think that you have. Some liver cleansing foods that you can focus on: beets, carrots, artichokes, lemons, parsnips, dandelion greens. Pretty bitter, but you can find fun ways to cook with them. Watercress, burdock root, black radish, horseradish, and mustard greens. So these are all going to be very, very flavorful foods. And I have a recipe that really is very gallbladder friendly. What you do is you steam these all together for 5 minutes and you blend it. So it's 5 stalks of celery, 3 zucchini, 1 bunch of parsley, cilantro, ginger, and green beans. Actually, a patient gave this recipe to me, and it's been amazing with so many gallbladder patients. Then, of course, add your tablespoon of ground flaxseed into that, and that is kind of the perfect soup, gallbladder soup, to help to start to move some of that sludge. And so some foods that you really want to make sure you avoid that can really activate and trigger the gallbladder is we have eggs, pork, and dairy. I would say are probably the top 3. Then, of course, alcohol and any fatty food or spicy food will do it. So beyond diet, the next big thing is exercise. So even just deep breathing will actually reduce your gallbladder disease risk. And other forms of exercise will help to reduce the cholesterol levels, help to control the weight. So there's a lot of positive domino effects from the exercise. And then, of course, balancing out your hormones, making sure you can actually get out your extra estrogen, bring your estrogen and progesterone into balance, but also make sure you can get them out. So making sure you get your hormones out of your body goes back to your detoxification pathways. How are your hormone metabolites getting out? A lot of that goes back to the gut. There's something called the estrobolome, which is estrogen getting recirculated out of the gut bacteria, going back to the liver function, going back to the diet. So hormones become a really big key in here as well, especially for our ladies, because our hormones are going to be driving our gallbladder disease. So that was a bit of a crash course into gallbladder disease. I hope everyone found that helpful. I know this is not necessarily an exciting topic, but it's actually a really important topic for all of the ladies out there, especially those who have been through multiple pregnancies or have been through birth control for a while, or hormone replacement therapy, or have the genetics, the family history. There's a lot of good things that we can do on a daily basis to help take care of that. All right. I hope you found that useful and that you were able to take away a couple of handy nuggets. We have some really exciting topics lined up, and we're also getting some great guest speakers in the lineup as well. So if you would like to join us for more episodes, send us an email and we can get you signed up. All right, have a great rest of your day.